gentlemen, please rise in honor of national anthem. We start our formal proceedings with the recitation of the Holy Quran, and I request Hafiz Muhammad Zakir Sam to please come and recite the holy verses.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم قل أعوذ برب الناس ملك الناس إله الناس من شر الوسواس الخناس الذي يوسوس في صدور الناس من الجنة والناس صدق الله العظيم قال رسول الله صلى الله عليه وسلم طلب العلم فريضة على كل مسلم ومسلمة. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam said, to seek knowledge is compulsory for every Muslim man and woman.
Jazakallah. Honorable Chief Guest, Mr. Khurshid Mahmood Kasuri, former Foreign Minister, Government of Pakistan. Dr. Muhammad Iqbal Chawla, Dean, Arts and Humanities, Director, Department of History. Venerable Mr. Shamshad Ahmed Khan, former Foreign Secretary, Government of Pakistan. Respectable Professor Dr. Hassan Askari Rizvi, Professor Emeritus and former Chief Minister, Punjab. Respected Chairperson, Professor Dr. Ambreen Javed. Distinguished Professors, Scholars of Political Science and International Relations, experts, faculty members, and my very dear students, Assalamu alaikum and a very good morning. I welcome you all on behalf of the Department of Political Science and Center for South Asian Studies, University of the Punjab. Democracy, governance and security, perspectives from South Asia. This is the theme for this 2 days international conference for which we gathered here. South Asia, that occupies 3.4% of the world's land area, home to approximately 24% of the world's population and the most densely populated place on earth, lumping the 8 countries under a common label with distinct features of ethnicity, religion, culture, language, politics and geography, with friendship and animosity as well. Today's conference is an effort from the University of the Punjab to listen the world view and seek the benefits from the intellectuals, about the problems and prospects of the region. In this inaugural session, now I will invite Mr. Khurshid Mahmood Kasuri, is considered as an ocean of information and analysis. And we are also honored that he is Punjab University alumnus. I am thankful, sir, for gracing the occasion, and we all are desired to have your candid talk on India-Pakistan relations, sir. Thank you, sir.
Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Professor Dr. Muhammad Iqbal Chawla, Dr. Ambreen Javed, Dr. Professor Hassan Askari Rizvi, Mr. Shamshad Ahmed Khan, Dr. Rehana Saeed Hashmi, members of the faculties, students, ladies and gentlemen. It gives me very great pleasure to be here addressing you on South Asia and Pakistan-India relations in particular. The subject today, of course, is democracy, governance and security. And before I come to what I've been asked to speak on, the important thing here to emphasize the regional context. And we've been speaking about threats to our security, and we've been talking of traditional security. I must, of course, compliment the two speakers who have preceded me, Dr. Hassan Askari Rizvi and Mr. Shamshad Ahmed Khan, who by their erudite comments have made it easier for me to focus on what today is hindering regional cooperation in South Asia, because they have put things in context. Apart from traditional security threats, South Asian countries today face multiple security, but there are threats of a non-traditional type. What are they? Rising poverty, food insecurity, water shortages, illicit drugs. All of them have a major impact on our security. But we must also remember, when we are talking of regional cooperation, we are talking of South Asia. Historically, the role of the most important country in a particular region has been a determinant factor in seeing how that region progresses. Look at the role of Germany in the European Union and, of course, France, the ancient enemies. Look at the role of Indonesia in Southeast Asia. There used to be a slogan in Indonesia, "Crush militia." And Dr. Adam Malik, one of the eminent foreign ministers at that time, they tried to bury that rivalry. And today you have the most successful example of regional cooperation in ASEAN, where the regional trade is 50%, which is really remarkable. Then you have in South Asia, there's Kasuri or some, I've forgotten the name of the organization. It is again Brazil, Latin America cooperation. Brazil, the largest country. And to a very large extent, the role of Saudi Arabia in Gulf Cooperation Council. This is a role that India could have played very eminently. But as we all know, that SAARC has been a hostage to Pakistan-India relations. And we must see how these two countries, all of us, are responsible. But when we talk of the role of India, it's not just Pakistan that has complained of India's desire for hegemonism. Look at Nepal, look at Sri Lanka. And therefore, when I talk of the need for the largest country in the region to play that harmonious role, that harmonizing role, unfortunately, the situation becomes very clear. Now, India is trying, instead of SAARC, which in fact has not even been able to hold its last conference. And this is not for the first time that's happened. I remember when I was foreign minister and Bangladesh had made all preparations for hosting the conference in Dhaka. The same thing happened there. And India decided to back out at the last moment. So it's not that Pakistan is a recipient of this treatment. Other countries have also suffered this. And India is now trying to promote the idea of BCIM, Bangladesh, China, India, Myanmar. In fact, I'm probably not very correct. Even on BCIM, the effort was because the Chinese were trying to bring about regional cooperation through CPECs here. And then there was China, Myanmar, India, and Bangladesh. Even that has been thwarted, and not much progress was made under BCIM. So they then thought of an initiative, the Bay of Bengal cooperation for multi-sectoral technical and economic issues. Now, this is no substitute for SAARC. SAARC, as you were told by the earlier speakers, that have hosts, I think, 88% of the population. And we are the most overly populated part of the world. But look at the level of trade between us. According to the World Bank, although the current trade between Pakistan and India is only $2 billion, and even in South Asia, SAARC, it's only 5%, the total trade, as against 50%, which I mentioned to you about ASEAN. But the potential for Pakistan-India trade alone, and these are not my figures, these are recent figures by the World Bank, is $37 billion. Well, let's put it in a nutshell that as far as regional cooperation in South Asia is concerned, for the time being, it is at a standstill. So let's come to Pakistan-India relations, which really are the crux of the situation as far as SAARC is concerned. And I hold the relationship between our two countries responsible for the pathetic level of regional cooperation, regional integration, regional connectivity in South Asia. Pakistan and India keep on blaming each other, and there will always be two perspectives in any given situation. But can anybody with a conscience or a heart remain impassive to what is happening in occupied Jammu and Kashmir? Even Indians with conscience, though with muted voices under Prime Minister Narendra Modi, are speaking about it. It's a different matter that a large number of such writers have been taken off major television channels. People like Karan Thapar, Barkha Dutt, who were household names, they just don't find employment now. And therefore, you have a certain perspective being voiced. But after the recent elections in Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan and Chhattisgarh, things are beginning to change. Some of those people who had decided to keep quiet are beginning to stir. They are beginning to speak. So, as far as Pakistan-India relations are concerned, the first issue, it's not that I as former Foreign Minister of Pakistan is saying, the entire world recognizes, the European Union recognizes, the United Nations recognizes, it is Kashmir. It's not that I am saying that it's a dispute, it's an internationally recognized dispute. Forget about others. Recently, the United Nations High Commissioner for Refugees came forward with a very damning report. Even earlier, a few years ago, when I was Foreign Minister, the European Union came forward with a report which called Kashmir the most beautiful prison on earth. So with this situation being what it is in Kashmir, the next question is, oh, India has got away with it. No, it has not. In the 21st century, it is impossible. India has lost Kashmiris at least. I met a Kashmiri leader recently and I asked him, so what's the situation? He said, when we were growing up, we were hostile to India. But the current generation, I don't want to use the words that he used about India. The anger knows no bounds. When you use pellet guns, when you kill at short range, when it's recognized internationally, yes, but when I say internationally, I must not run away with my enthusiasm. There is no such thing as an international community. The international community only speaks when it suits its own interests. It doesn't speak. Look at what's happening in Kashmir. I think even the silence is dumbfounding. It is unbelievable. There's total silence because they will only speak when it suits their interests. And I remember serious efforts were made to take Kashmir off the agenda of the United Nations Security Council. They were finding it very unpalatable. I remember, and we made efforts along with many like-minded countries and got it restored. But it doesn't depend on the international community. It depends on Kashmiris and how Pakistan pleads Kashmir's case. I'm not one of those who says Kashmir has been let down by Pakistan's poor advocacy. Not at all. We've had very outstanding foreign ministers and leaders. There's been Sir Zafrullah Khan, there's Zulfikar Ali Bhutto, Agha Shahi, and many others who've spoken very eloquently about Kashmir and Kashmiris. But as I told you, the international community is not swayed by morality. But what is now happening is a game changer. The situation inside Kashmir. And now it's openly recognized by sane Indians. Even my own counterpart, one of the three counterparts when I was Foreign Minister of Pakistan, Mr. Yashwant Sinha, in a report called the Yashwant Sinha Report, has recognized that the current situation, and I quote him, is due to India's failure to accept Kashmir as a dispute, and its future needs to be decided in consultation with the people of Kashmir. And he didn't say so, but hinted also Pakistan. Then there is also the National Security Advisor of India at the time when I was Foreign Minister. He's a hardliner on Pakistan, M.K. Narayanan. He has been forced to recognize, and he has now hinted that we need to perhaps go back to the Kashmir solution about which I have written in my book, Neither a Hawk Nor a Dove. मैं यहाँ बताना चाहता हूँ उर्दू ज़बान में कि मैंने फ़ैसला किया है कि एक और किताब अब इंशाअल्लाह मैं उर्दू में लिखूँगा ताकि जो पैगाम है वो उर्दू ज़बान में पाकिस्तानी अवाम तक जाए कि पाकिस्तान की बका और उसकी सालमियत और उसकी खुशहाली का जो राज है, क्योंकि जब तक ये आवाम तक मसला नहीं पहुँचेगा तो वो मैं नहीं समझता कि ये मामला आगे बढ़ेगा. तो मैंने यही फैसला किया है कि पाकिस्तान, भारत और पाकिस्तान आर्मी के रोल पे उर्दू में मैं इंशाअल्लाह बहुत जल्द लिखूँगा. So when I was talking to you about Kashmir, I think it's no longer depends on the international community. The Kashmiris on the ground have taken the matter in their own hands. And some of the Indians tried to mislead the international opinion. And they said, oh, this is terrorism. And when asked to give proof, they said, look at those Daesh flags. So somebody asked me, I said Indians should thank their lucky stars that most people who die are wrapped not in Daesh flags but in Pakistani flags. The day they start getting wrapped up in Daesh flags, it will be a very difficult day for India because it will change, have impact all around. Currently, it's only limited to Kashmir, but Daesh's message is of a different type. So nobody can be misled by the fact that the situation there is created by extremists or by Pakistan. Now, the next question is, what can there be a solution to Kashmir? We have fought 3 major wars, 2 minor wars, if you count Kargil and Run of Kutch, 5. And there have been 4 near-war situations, including at the time when I was about to assume office. This was the confrontation It lasted for 11 months on the border, eyeball to eyeball, 1 million soldiers. It was the largest mobilization in history since the Second World War. The world held its breath. They were afraid there might be a conflagration between two nuclear powers. Luckily, sense prevailed. But starting from Nawabzada Liaquat Ali Khan, Sarfaroz Khanun, then Ayub Khan, to every political leader, political or military, and now Imran Khan. And in the end, I will tell you something about his views on Kashmir. Everybody, and this includes the Jamiat Ulama Islam, the religious parties, except one or two, each political parties in Pakistan feels that the solution to Kashmir can only be a negotiated solution. Of course, our position arises from the fact that there are UN resolutions on Jammu and Kashmir. We don't have a locus standi without that. And of course, there's the moral position, and that's Kashmiri's right after the suffering that they have undergone. But everybody in Pakistan recognized, including the Pakistan Army, which is accused often of being a hindrance. A lot of progress was made. When Ayub Khan was in power between Pakistan and India, then under Jan Ziaullah, under President Musharraf, we almost came to a resolution of the dispute with Jammu and Kashmir. And it is my belief that since we have fought 5 wars, 4 near war situations, there really can be no solution to Jammu and Kashmir except if it is a win-win, firstly for Kashmiris and then for Pakistani and Indians as well. Because there cannot be a zero-sum game. That is not a possibility any longer. People can continue to mislead public opinion in their own countries. India can say a two-tongue, and we can say कि हम ये करेंगे, वो करेंगे. Basically, it will have to be a negotiated solution. And I traced in my book the statements of every single leader since 1947, starting with Quaid-e-Azam, Muhammad Ali Jinnah. Everybody stood for a negotiated solution. Yes, there were UN Security Council resolutions. And ironically, it is Mr. Jawaharlal Nehru who took the matter to the United Nations because he was scared that the situation might get out of control and that the Indian Army may not be able to control the situation. But the fact is that Kashmir has created huge problems as far as Pakistan and India is concerned. I don't want to take more time than is due, otherwise I would have gone on and on about the envisaged solution on Jammu and Kashmir, which has not been contradicted by anybody in Pakistan or India to date. What I wrote was in 2016. Nobody in Pakistan or India has contradicted to date. In fact, the very fact that President Musharraf attended the book launch in Pakistan and Dr. Manmohan Singh in India speaks volumes. They would never have attended that book launch if they felt that it had been misrepresented. So if you ask me, yes, there is a solution in Jammu and Kashmir. What does Imran Khan say? Imran Khan is on record, and I've also given all the sources in my book. He asked me, what could the possible solution Jammu and Kashmir be? And I briefed him. And then when he was on a visit to India, he was asked, what is the solution to Jammu and Kashmir? And he referred to my book. He said it is given therein. Because any person who is sane, who is not misleading his own people, and who by saying कि हम ज़बरदस्ती कश्मीर को कब्जा कर लेंगे, it has to be through a negotiated settlement, and that is possible. So it's not that this cannot be done. Of course it can be done. Then what are the chances of a dialogue? Even Prime Minister Narendra Modi, I had written when he was about to come into power. In the ultimate analysis, he is a politician. And all politicians are very, what's the word for it? Are very realistic, pragmatic. And I won't go into the details. We all know that his visit to Lahore failed, and we know the reasons why it failed. But he did come to Lahore. It failed because 2 hours before he landed in Lahore, he really ran into Pakistan in a speech in Kabul. He really let Pakistanis have a go. Then he went to Dhaka, and the sort of sentiments you heard him say there, despite everything, he still came to Lahore. Now, what do I feel? I feel, and look at the Pakistan Army, General Qamar Javed Bajwa has repeatedly said that we need a negotiated solution on Jammu and Kashmir. Could Kartarpur corridor opening have taken place without the Pakistan Army being on board? And of course, credit is due to Prime Minister Imran Khan and Mr. Sidhu, who came over, and you know the whole story. But it means that as far as Pakistan Army is concerned, it will be on board on a solution that is just and fair. How do I know? Well, it took us 3 years to arrive at that solution which I have listed. I have listed the names of the generals. I have not written the names. There was General Kiani, DGISI, and General Hassan Salim Hayat, Vice Chief of Army Staff. And on my side, I had Foreign Secretary Riaz Muhammad Khan. It took us 3 years. It was not done in a jiffy, and that is why I am certain that there is no other solution except the one given in that book. There cannot be, because you cannot reinvent a wheel. If it cannot be taken forcibly, and the type of sacrifices that Kashmiris are now making are quite unprecedented. So there is a solution to Jammu and Kashmir. So when do I think it will happen? I think it will be after the elections which are due in 2019. Whether Mr. Modi wins or he loses. If he wins, I mean, I'm only now looking at rationally. And whenever you analyze, you analyze as a rational person. So, rationally, there is no other solution. Whether Modi comes, what will he do? He's been saying, I've gone for a surgical strike. People in his own country laugh at him. Forget that the Pakistan Army took foreign reporters to the site of the so-called surgical strike. But the Indian opposition is asking him, what has happened? You launched that surgical strike, nothing happened. The same situation continues. No politician likes to look silly. And yes, unfortunately, the way it is in Indian politics, polarization has worked beautifully for BJP. Hindu, Muslim, Pakistan, India, it works. In my opinion, if Mr. Modi had tried something else, it might have been better. But it's too late for that. I think he's going to go forward with this. Regardless of who wins, I think there is no option. So, in a nutshell, what I'd say is, everybody talks of what then. Yes, it probably applies to countries like India and Pakistan, which have such entrenched issues as we have, over which, as I said, we went to war or nearly came to war 9 times. Otherwise, increasing trade contact itself creates contacts, greater number of stakeholders. If you ask me one thing, there are lots of things that can be done. The role of media and liberal visa regime, culture, films, there are many things. But if one thing that can be done, it is if you encourage people-to-people contact through a liberal visa regime. That is one thing which no politician or media can control. I saw it happen during my time. I decided to convince the government to go for a very liberal visa regime. About 100,000 Indians came and 100,000 Pakistanis were allowed to travel. And what happened? Basically, as you know, cricket between Pakistan and India is really a battlefield. It's not like sports, it's like a battle. But can you believe it? In Lahore, India won. And some of the Indians who had come from India wouldn't dare to come out of the stadium thinking they might be beaten up. So they remained inside and they couldn't believe their eyes that the young men and women of Lahore went out cheering the Indian team which had won. Why? only 2-3 years of dialogue and of successful dialogue and of people-to-people interaction had taken place. So there is no substitute for people-to-people interaction. Regarding Kartarpur corridor, and I'm going to conclude after this, see the amount of sentiment aroused among the Sikhs. But we had also opened Katas Raj temple for the Hindus. And if we can start even on religious tourism, so many Muslims go to various dargahs in India. Hazrat Nizamuddin Auliya, then of course Ajmer Sharif. There's so many people go. If we were to encourage that, that itself might have an impact. So I think the short answer to this is that as far as Pakistan-India relations are concerned, I don't think they can remain frozen like this forever. And we'll have to wait the results of the Indian elections. At the moment, it's not a given that Mr. Modi will win. A large number of Indian commentators feel he still has the edge. But I think I've been following Indian elections very closely. It's a very difficult situation because most of the by-elections, forget the 3 elections that have taken place, even earlier in Bihar and UP, by-elections were held and BJP lost in its own strongholds, including the seat of the Chief Minister Yogi Adityanath. So I think let's wait for the Indian elections, and even if Mr. Modi wills, I think if sanity is to prevail, there will be talks, but there is no substitute for regional cooperation. And if India can really persist with that, it will be faced with a very odd situation that it doesn't wish to talk to Pakistan in SAARC, where India is the largest country. But in Shanghai Cooperation Organization, it talks to Pakistan, where Russia and China are the largest countries. And not only that, they even go for joint military drills. What else? How stupid can we be? That you are not going to cooperate in SAARC, where you are the largest country. This is what I would say. I have words, but I won't use it because it will get published in newspapers today. It's not very wise what the Indians are doing, but they have cooperated with us in Shanghai Cooperation. I couldn't believe Pakistani Indian soldiers singing at the same time. You all saw the pictures. Thank you very much, ladies and gentlemen.